Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Tuesday, May 19th for my first and fifth hours, Wednesday, May 20th for fourth hour. One of our last days of new content. Exciting, but wow, is it going fast? So we're going to continue our conversation about the Cold War today. You've got a little mini lecture, which you are watching right now. You've got Chapter 19 guided notes, and then a crash course on the Cold War to submit for me before we meet later in the week. Okay, so before Thursday or Friday would be great because on Thursday or Friday you are going to have a Flipgrid learning check for the Cold War. Okay, so last time we left off, with this U-2 spy plane incident with Francis Gary Powers. Okay. And in comes JFK. Okay, so as I mentioned to you before, there's two election dates I want you to remember. 1860 is Lincoln, 1960 is JFK. Now, Khrushchev and JFK are going to meet to discuss Berlin and nuclear proliferation. Khrushchev looked at JFK and he thought that this was a person that he could take advantage of. So this only made things worse. And up goes the Berlin Wall in 1961. Okay, so at first it was a figurative divide and then is going to become a literal divide. And some of these people are going, or some families even, in Berlin and in East and West Germany are going to be separated from each other for years and years and years. In a famous speech trying to get him to take down the wall, he said, he tried to say, my fellow Berliners, apparently those of you that speak German can translate that it supposedly was supposed to be, or as he said, I am a jelly donut. I don't speak German, so I can't speak to that. Cuba. So, as the United States likes to do, we like to support foreign leaders or try to get. We want to make sure we had we were. How do I want to phrase this? Before Castro was in power in Cuba, okay, we helped them overthrow a dictator and we backed Castro. Now Castro comes into power, and when Castro comes into power, he did a little bait and switch with the United States, and he made an alliance with Khrushchev and the Soviet Union. So, oh my gosh, holy buckets, only 90 miles away from Florida, we've got a communist nation that's backed by the Soviet Union in 1961. Scary, scary time, because right after Castro comes to power, what happens is a bunch of refugees are going to try to make it to Florida, and they do. And the Kennedy administration decides that they would take these refugees and they would train them, okay, and send them back to Cuba to help them start this coup. They would start this revolution in Cuba. Well, Castro sees it coming, and all these refugees land at a spot called the Bay of Pigs, and they get completely wiped out. U.S. reinforcements never come in, and it was the biggest black eye of JFK's presidency. Okay. Then shortly thereafter, 1962, U-2 spy plane catches this picture right here, taking photos of all of these warheads, all of these nuclear warheads in Cuba. And it's not just that, but there are Soviet troops in Cuba that are putting this stuff together. Okay, so again, only 90 miles away from Florida, we've got all of these nukes pointed at the U.S. What to do? Okay, well, herein starts the Cuban Missile Crisis, this 13-day scary event in which orders were given on both sides to go to nuclear war. And the famous line, we went eyeball to eyeball with the Russians and the other man blinked. We could spend about 20 minutes just doing a close reading upon what this actually means. But the fact that we didn't go to nuclear war, everybody won, okay? This was kind of where the Cold War came to a head, and it could have been friggin' nasty, okay? Both sides came to the table and offered things up, and those nuclear warheads obviously end up getting out of there. We found years later that there were not just like 30 or 40 nuclear weapons, but hundreds and they were operational and pointed at the U.S., they could have wiped out just about every part of the United States except for like Seattle. Pretty scary time. Okay, so that is the Cuban Missile Crisis. Obviously, the Vietnam War is going to be another part of the, and you guys do a fair amount of studying the Vietnam War in other history classes as well. However, you know, the tough part about the Vietnam War is obviously the geography of Vietnam. Okay, they were trying to keep the Viet Cong, okay, from what we consider to be imperial rule of South Vietnam. We were trying to defend South Vietnam from communist rule. Tough part is that Ho Chi Minh Trail is going to go through parts of you know, like Cambodia and Laos, and we weren't at war with Cambodia and Laos, and you know that's the part that was the scary deal. Okay, and we talked about Vietnam and other aspects of the class. So anyway, just understand that that is a element of the Cold War. That is all for today. Make it a great day or don't. The choice is yours.